Hi everyone. This is Jacob Fortum, the host of Doers Within Us podcast. This is we're continuing our collaboration with the African Diaspora Network, interviewing the amazing builders of Africa's future. And I'm really honored and humbled to have with me Dr. Ahimbisbwe Prosper. I hope I pronounced that name right.
You tried.
I'm from Africa, man. I need to get this right. But Dr. Prosper is just an incredible from his profile and what I've read about him. Dr. Prosper is such an incredible individual and entrepreneur who's trying to make a difference through the company he's building on the continent. And there's so much we can learn from him on this episode. And as I continue to profile these amazing entrepreneurs, the goal is to make sure that people can learn about the stories and just get to know more about the impact that creates on the continent and get to know their human story, right? Because with the African Diaspora Network, they're trying to build, they're getting the support to build great companies, but there's always great people behind great companies. So Dr. Prosper, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jacob. It's a pleasure. My name is Dr. Prosper Ahimbisbwe. And yes, I hail from Uganda, East Africa.
Yes, I love Uganda. Go ahead.
You're most welcome. You're always welcome to visit Uganda.
I've been
we are called the Pearl of Africa. I think for that reason, because we have a very good weather. We have a very good nature. When you go checking out the national parks, the landscapes, the scenes. So the scenery is actually one of the best in the world.
Definitely.
So you're welcome to visit. Yes.
Yes. So Dr. Prosper, sorry, I kind of talked over you. I've been to Uganda in 2019. 2019. Yeah, I think 2019, 2018. And I loved it. Just wanted to tell you that Uganda is sometimes considered my second home. So I've been to Kampala, Mbarara, a great country. So I'll come visit.
Yeah, you must have experienced it very well.
That's why I love the nature. But anyway, please go ahead. Thanks again for your introduction. Can you just tell the audience and us about how you grew up in Uganda? How was it like? How was your experience like?
Well, I grew up as a man from Kanungu, from a very peasant background. That is, Kanungu is found in the southwestern part of Uganda, which borders the Democratic Republic of Congo. So I grew up in a family that was very extended. So I remember going to see my granny when I was little. I have those fond memories with her. She's still alive, and we used to do a lot of storytelling, folk telling, and I also had to mingle with my other cousins who are from my daddy's brothers and sisters. So it was quite quite a family, and very playful also at the time, playful. So we played a couple of games that were, some of them local, some of them were for example, you draw certain patterns on the ground, you draw certain boxes on the ground, and then you jump after throwing a certain piece of bead.
Yes.
I don't know. It's called differently in different African cultures, but I enjoyed those growing up. Yes. Then from my primary, I went to a primary school in Kanungu still, so I enjoyed just being around home and being taken care of and mixing with the extended family. So for me, those were like really good memories that I still have.
Yes.
And so I moved from one primary school to another. I sort of, when I would become number one in a class in the school, they would like, oh no, you need a new challenge. So I moved to about 2 schools for my primary and finished.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a Catholic school, so I got very good values around discipline, around hard work, around determination. So those were foundational values for me that I still have up to now.
That's amazing. One thing that I have to bring up, the game you're talking about, the ones you draw on the box, we also have it in Cameroon. So
Yeah.
that's fun. Thanks for sharing that. And I think that was kind of reminds us how some simple things are good in life. Just having things that we can just be creative about. And as young kids, we do that a lot in Africa. So we don't have TikTok. I mean, sometimes we don't have computers or Xbox or all those things, but we actually have fun doing the very.
We do.
Have fun.
Yeah, but I was able to get my first email address in I think in my primary 6. So I wouldn't like access a computer anytime. Like at the time that I wanted, I would have to wait until like maybe every 3 months, visit my uncle who was at a time at a facility that had given him a laptop. So that's how I also got introduced to modern music and R. Kelly, Sean Paul, and all that. They had through that, yeah.
That's incredible. Thanks for sharing that. And so once you left primary school, so I'm assuming you went to primary school in your hometown, or were you right around where you grew up, right? As you mentioned earlier.
From where I grew, it's still the same district, but it was the same home area, but the same district, not same home area. Yeah.
Perfect. And then you transitioned into so did you go to secondary school, boarding secondary school? How was same district, or did you have to move somewhere for your secondary school?
I moved, yeah. So the transition for me happened when I had to move from secondary school. I had to move from Kanungu to one of the best secondary schools at the time in the capital city. So that of course had its own transition and challenge. Meeting new kids, new culture. These were kids from all these different corners of Uganda with different, attitudes and experiences. It was a bit challenging for me. There was I remember I was slightly bullied a bit because of where I was coming from. So in 2001, there was a cult of religion that was promising people to go to heaven. So people would sell whatever they have, join a church with a promise that they're going to heaven. So it was called. It was a church in Kanungu, and people were banned in 2001 because actually in the year 2000, I think the year 2000. Were banned because of the person couldn't provide an explanation why they were still alive, yet they had paid all they could. So he was banned. The main guy who banned them was called Chibwetere. You should check out the story. So people asking me how I survived. So I felt a bit drawn back that my home district was associated with such an inferno or such a story. And it was a bit sad, but I felt like I didn't feel good about it. So I was a bit taken back by that story. So through my high school, I think I became pretty much focused on my work, work in class, played a few sports here and there, but I was more into math. So there was a math teacher who enrolled me for math contest. And that's where I found my niche of, like I enjoyed doing math contests at the time. And I remember getting good grades, actually in my senior year, I was top of the country in my honorary level. So I was pretty much very much proud.
Yes.
Though of course I had my share of disappointment with it as well. That I was supposed to represent the country at the Olympics, and that didn't happen.
Oh no.
Yeah. So it was a sweet, sad story. But from then I was able to. So along that line, along that direction, I was trying to develop I have always wanted to do something that impacts people directly. Getting it from my mom. My mom is a midwife, but my dad is now a director at a tea factory, but he was previously a tea farmer and a leaf officer at the same tea factory. So I saw how she touched, pregnant mothers who'd come home and they would deliver and they would go home with a baby and smiles and they would really be happy. So I felt like I needed to do something, and that's what pushed me towards medical school.
Yeah.
So by pretty much senior 5, senior 6, which is advanced level school,
Yep.
I pretty much knew that I wanted to become a medical doctor.
Yep. Yep.
And yes, so I had to pursue that for my A-level, and I was glad that I actually was able to achieve it.
Thanks so much for sharing that. I see a lot of similarities in your story, and just many Africans, not many, but most of the Africans I know from Cameroon, it's a very similar experience. And by the way, I knew you look like someone who's gonna be the first in the country. Just you have that smart face, you
Oh,
have that smart, highly intellectual face. And
thank
you know,
you for that compliment.
for sure. And I mean, even though you didn't make the Mad Olympics, you're now a builder for Africa's future, and you're representing Uganda
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
global stage. So uh, God has a way to make things, uh, come at the right time. So just want to acknowledge that. So I think so when you decide to be a doctor, did you what university? I know there's some great universities in Kampala. I know Makerere.
Oh
Makerere.
yeah. So I went to Makerere, which is the best,
Ah,
the top public private top public university, but it's also the best in the country because of its heritage and the kind of research that it does, and the kind of faculty that it has.
mhm, exactly.
So I joined Makerere University for my bachelor's of medicine and surgery.
Yes.
And while I was there, it was also another, I would say, a roller coaster of experience, because when I joined, I did not become, I wasn't totally focused on my academic as the means to the end.
Mhm,
I recognized that you can actually start creating impact outside of the class.
Yep. Yep.
And I think for me, that was like one of the driving factors that I did. So I joined an organization. So we'll do community outreaches. We'll do, for example, there's a slum that is between the university and Mlago Hospital. If you come to, it's still there. It's called Katanga Slum. So you'd find people from this, from this slum would present to hospital with actually diarrheal diseases, they were sick, and yet there were doctors nearby. And I figured out that, by, talking to them about how you, for example, can do hand washing. I think we all know how that has been important in COVID.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So just go choose a weekend and just go through how you can do hand washing quite well. And we would actually measure the impact of the behavior change and maybe disease prevalence, and would see that there's a positive trend
Yep.
in terms of what was happening.
Mm.
So I became involved into that. I became involved into leadership. I was a guild representative on council for my school of medicine on the student guild. So at the time, it meant I had to air the challenges that they had to the guild council, so that they would find solutions for them. I also did some work around research and writing with the Research and Writers Club of Makerere University College of Health Sciences. So it was we published here so we're publishing medical research produced by medical students,
Yep.
and we produced the 48th edition
Mm.
of the medical journal that was one of the flagship projects, or one of the, I would say, flagship projects of the college, especially as a produce of as a product or a produce of students.
That's
So it was for me that place. I pretty much enjoyed that, and of course, academically going through the clinical years, the preclinical years, learning so much about the human body and how you as a doctor are supposed to provide solace and interventions to the human body, whether it is ailing, depending on which part it is. So for me, it was, yeah. So it comes to a point when we were actually graduating from medical school, and that's when we founded our company.
Mm.
Yeah,
That's
but before that, it was learning all these little skills that you need to, to have. How do
exactly.
you craft a presentation?
Mm.
How do you talk to people? How do you create a? How do you socialize? Yeah.
Okay.
How do you create formidable networks that of people that can support you? So all these activities were, adding something to my CV that I could actually use to, for example, bring forward to my company when I founded it. So um, I would say for me, I have from then the lens of approaching life as seeing it from a lens of impact.
Mhm.
How are you transforming people's lives? Started was crystallized around in my university days, in my undergraduate days at the university.
Mm. That's it's like you're laying the foundation, that led you to the India fascinating company mSCAN. And I
Mm.
think it sounded like you didn't study like the schoolwork. You were doing startups and attending class.
No, I did. I did graduate.
Did you?
I did
You
graduate.
did?
I did finish my university. I did enjoy the kind of work. I did
Yeah,
enjoy schoolwork as well,
you did.
but it was not very.
Interesting.
It wasn't. It was still interesting, but there were other competing interests. Extracurricular activities were competing with my academic work, but I still managed to complete in the time that I was supposed to complete, actually,
Certainly,
and
certainly.
with good grades as well.
Definitely. I mean, even just reading, looking at your profile and stuff, it sounds like you can do many things at the same time. You can do really well. And I think that's something that I'm very proud, just hearing your story, and you can definitely be a mentor for many young Africans and people around the world, not just for Africans, but yeah. I'm glad to meet people, an entrepreneur like you. That is just brilliant. So thank you. Thanks for your work. You're an inspiration for many.
Thank you. I'm humbled by those kind words.
You deserve it. You deserve it. A good transition now. So can you just tell us about mSCAN, how it came together? I've done business in Uganda. I know it's not easy. It's not easy to even start
Not.
register a company, but can you just please share with us what mSCAN does and how this idea, you have mentioned a little bit about how you started, but how did you consider the idea, and and just tell us what it's about, and we can go into partnerships and all that.
Oh, so for me, mSCAN started when we were posted in different parts of the country. So there's a medical program in medical school where you're posted across the country.
Yep.
So we realized that mothers were dying from complications of pregnancies, of pregnancy that could actually be detected early by ultrasound. And the challenge was these the big machines couldn't be maneuvered in these rural areas. Yeah, they were power intensive. That you couldn't, especially for areas that didn't have electricity. So these were barriers to them accessing ultrasound. That was very key, a key diagnostic tool in pregnancy. So we figured we needed, when we came together, when we came back to Kampala, we're a team of three. We figured we could come together and provide a solution. So we 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 put together mSCAN, which is a portable version, a portable ultrasound solution that can work on a tablet phone to provide healthcare, especially diagnostic capacity to pregnant mothers in their antenatal. So that's how the mSCAN was born. And the team later found we needed a technology lead, so we recruited another technology lead as a founder. So we became 4. The rest of the 3 are medical students. I'm a medical doctor. The other 2 are medical radiographers. So it was a diverse team with very with skill sets that were different, that we pulled together and formed mSCAN Uganda. So that's how mSCAN came together. We were lucky that we applied through an accelerator program here that was offering money and some mentorship to kickstart, ideas that were around maternal health.
Yep.
And we're lucky that our idea actually made it through.
Yep.
So when we did so, we got our first seed funding of about $10,000. That was in 2017. That got us our first. It moved us from our first prototype to our first minimum viable product. Yes, we were able to work with one of the top technology and industrial hubs here in Uganda, which is called Uganda Industry Research Institute, that was able to shape us, to provide our first prototype that was our first minimum viable product.
Yep.
That was actually producing scans for mothers. So that's how mSCAN has the journey of its inception, and that was in a period of about 6 months. That's how accelerated our program had to be. So it was really intense. It was intense. But moving from there to the next milestones, making sure there's money for more product development for mSCAN. It was good. It was a tug of war, I have to say. It was a tug of war.
And I think just with the community you have at African Diaspora Network, I'm sure there is some clarity, but hopefully, and I think certainly some support that can come to really get that into the hands of other doctors, or to be administered to the women in remote areas. So I think you're definitely on the right track, and I know from a year from now, different amazing stories will be told for the product you're building. So thanks so much for sharing that. I think within those 6 months, just to piggyback, how did your co-founders, the medical students, how did they guide, or just how can you just share a little bit about your co-founders and maybe how they together you guys went through the difficult times? You mentioned something that getting that to a minimum viable product was a talk of war. Can you just share a little bit about that? Because one thing that I always want to, hopefully we can all learn from, is just the struggles that people go through, and not just the rings and the awards that we get. Behind those things are struggles. So if you don't mind sharing one struggle that you and your co-founder experience.
So I think getting the co-founders, I think that conversation was a very like choosing who comes onto the team.
Yes.
Was not an easy conversation, because we understand that actually startups can die due to the type of the type of co-founders, the kind of dynamics, the team dynamics that are there. So for us, we had to be sure that this is what, for example, me and one of the other co-founder would work together in Rotaract, which is under Rotary International. So it is a space where young people can provide and serve other communities by through actions of either maybe an outreach, or giving away scholastic materials, teaching kids educational skills. So there was some bonding between some of the of the co-founders that had happened before the inception of mSCAN. So that was one of the criteria, that we at least understood each other. The challenge was, I think one of the biggest challenge was funds. and the second was mentorship. The third was also finding the right kind of resources that we need for a product like ours. And to as we as we move forward, we found that we really were working in a high niche that had a lot of demand in terms of technology. So we really needed to find people who understood the kind of product we're trying to build, which was ultrasound in Uganda.
Mhm.
It was an uphill task.
Mm.
So the first one that I talked about funding was, I remember the first day we were given a check, a dummy check of 10,000 US dollars, but like some of us didn't have rent that day, like for the next month. So it was those hard grinding times of an entrepreneur, when you're running a company from scratch and all you have is a dummy check and you don't have your rent covered for the next month. You can imagine how that should have been. It was not good. So it was funding for ourselves, as how do we keep ourselves, like, running as people, as human beings, yeah,
Yes.
but also keep the company running as well, making sure that we hit the next milestone.
Exactly.
And like I mentioned, like earlier in the podcast, it was about how do we raise more money for making our product much better, for making sure that the product, the mSCAN probe that we're bringing to mothers, provides is of the same quality, provides the best service for pregnant mothers, even as comparatively with the big ultrasound machines. So for us, it was something that we had to really think about in a space where there are no venture capitalists around Uganda, maybe a couple of angel investors. So we had to really figure out what kind of partnerships we needed to move forward and to propel us forward. Yeah. So it was not it was I would say it was a rumble in the jungle.
Exactly. Exactly. No, thanks for sharing. I think, we don't want to glorify failure, but I think one of the things that people can learn is that it's not an easy journey and it's not for the faint-hearted, but at the same time you look at successful entrepreneurs and you want to stick to the success of the story, but almost always there are some difficult times that it doesn't necessarily have to be that difficult, extreme difficult, but just have to brace yourself that things will not always go as expected. And I appreciate the fact that you shared that behind the scene experience. And it's truly humbling to see. So for milestones, talking about milestones, what are you guys thinking about in the next year or next 6 months, if I may ask, or the next year as you guys continue to build mSCAN in Uganda?
Well, I would once again want to thank the Builders of Africa, Builders of Africa's Future and the program, which is of course hosted by the Africa Diaspora Network, for giving us this platform to air out our stories and conversations, and you as well, Jacob, for that. So I think that for the next maybe 5 years, if I'm to put it to that, we're looking at carrying out about 5 million scans for pregnant mothers who would never have accessed those ultrasound scans. And so far we've carried about 1,620 scans so far. Yes. So but that is on the side of the social impact.
Yes.
On the impact side,
Yes.
So we want to do 5 million ultrasound scans or sonograms.
Mm.
But we are looking at on the impact on the business side, which of course I would also want to thank the Africa Diaspora Network through the Africa Network for being particular on developing our business fundamentals, social bookkeeping, a lot of things that are in there that are very helpful to build a sustainable business. So we're looking at growing our revenue and our profit. yeah,
Yes.
through selling the direct sale of mSCAN probes through very many channels. It can be a distributorship channel. It can be a direct sale through a one-off with a hospital.
Mhm.
So I believe for me, we're looking at how do we become self-sustainable as a company, because I had one of my, in the previous conversations that you had, someone was talking about donor fatigue.
Yeah.
One of the builders of Africa cohort, Africa's future cohort person. So
Mhm.
for me, it's about how do we build a self-sustaining business that's able to go against the obstacles and the bumps and the roadblocks of time uh, in terms of having a very successful business.
Exactly. And
Yes.
I'm really excited. I think, there'll always be bumps on the way, but it sounds like a very exciting plan. And thank you. Thanks for doing what you're doing. It's not an easy task, and it's changing lives, actually, saving lives. So I'm really excited to be a part of your journey. I think there's a lot we're gonna learn from you in the next 2 months, 3, 6, 10 years. Really excited for everything you're doing. It's just inspiring. I'm going now into inspiration. Entrepreneurship is in Africa has its unique challenges, and the one thing that we always struggle to really break through, come with products or even have something that's sustainable. Just from your experience so far and how you have been building this great company, can you just please share any words of advice or any um, lessons you've learned as an entrepreneur to young Africans out there, other Africans in diaspora, which we get comfortable with jobs here, and we don't want to come back and support, even partner, collaborate with people like you who are doing great work, or even the Africans in Uganda, Ugandans or Africans as a whole, the continent. What are some of the lessons and advice you can share with them and say, um, um, this is how it works, and you should consider this, and also, it's not that bad if you can encourage them to to get into to this space. Do you have any lessons learned you love to share, or any advice you love to share with Africans out there, or Africans, Ugandans, or Africans across the continent?
Well, I think in terms of lessons that I would want to share about my journey as an entrepreneur, I think one is always believe in yourself, okay? Because there are going to be times when you're tested as an entrepreneur and you can't figure out really the way forward until you need that internal kick that you get from yourself.
Yep.
So and I figured that probably the first maybe couple of months into a business of an entrepreneur, the first couple of maybe 3 months, you have to really figure out yourself and your skill sets and what you bring to the to your startup. Yeah. So if you don't believe in yourself, if you don't know that you at the core of who you are certain skills that you bring to an organization, it's going to be really pretty much tough for you as an entrepreneur, if I have to say.
Mm.
Um, other lessons that I think I have found is to really reach out, to have the courage to reach out to other people, especially who have more experience than you, to seek help.
Mm.
Because sometimes we think we have our own baby as an entrepreneur, as a startup, that we don't want other people to participate in. We don't seek advice because we think we know it all, because this is our idea. And yet that is not the case.
Yep.
There are other loopholes, there are other perspectives and angles that other people have that you could actually need as an entrepreneur. So you have to have the courage to seek out for advice or for help.
Mm. Exactly. I love the
Yes.
last point. It's very important. I think sometimes we hold the idea and say, "Oh, this is not something that proprietary data." Uh, uh, but the power of sharing and sharing with the right people too, which you are already surrounded by the African Diaspora Network, goes a long way. You actually you become you get so grounded in good information that can really make a difference. So I 100% co-sign that advice. One thing that I really love for Africans in Diaspora, the Africans in Diaspora Network Leaders for Africa feature guests is just to give me a sense of what you think you want your legacy to be. You're a very young man. I know you have 80 more years. So it doesn't sound like, but just like from what you're building, right? There's something great in there, right? And I'm curious, like, how do you think you want mSCAN to be in the next 20, 30 years? Or perhaps just you, like, how do you want people to see your work? And how do you want people to believe that it is possible to transform the healthcare system in Uganda, especially in rural areas? I think what are your thoughts on that? And if you have any thoughts, please, can you just share with the audience, all those people listening across the world, how you think about what you want to leave here, or even what you're trying to build now? I think your legacy has already started. You're just an amazing, powerful, and inspirational entrepreneur. Can you just tell us what are your thoughts on how you want people to think about your work and appreciate the work you're doing?
Thank you very much, Jacob. That's a very powerful question because not a lot of, and you know it's powerful because not a lot of people think about it in the course of their leadership journey. Because I also consider myself as a leader.
Yep.
I'm a leader. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm an innovator. I'm a medical doctor.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, so those questions that make you think, they give you a sense of introspection as a person, who you are and what kind of work that you do, what you stand for. I think those are very powerful questions. A lot of people don't do that. But I've been fortunate to have been a part of a leadership institute and fellowship where these questions have been they're put in front of our eyes, and we've had to answer these questions. So I think I would want to have the legacy, or be in a space where I'm remembered as a doctor who created who touched people's lives and shaped a very healthy and happy Africa. I think for me that would be one of those legacies that I look out for, and I'm trying very much to actually move in and find out what that means for me. I'm trying to break it down to projects, to activities, to partnerships.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
to making that a reality. That is what I would want to be remembered for as my legacy.
I think you're already doing. The legacy has already been read. You've started with chapter 2, 3, 4, because I just love your mind and your mindset, how you're building this company, being part of this amazing program. And I can tell, sometimes you can tell just how the person composes themselves, how the person thinks about answers. You can tell this person is meant for great things. So I'm really excited to get to know you, for the audience to get to know you, and for sharing your story here, because I think this is the beginning of many things to come. The future looks really, really, really amazing for you. Not for me, but for you and all the builders of Africa's future. So thank you so much, Prosper. And I have a curious question about Uganda. Do all Ugandans like matoke?
Yeah, no, some do. It depends, but mostly from the central and the western part of the country, they do love matoke. Yes, they do.
What is your favorite Ugandan cuisine?
dish. So my favorite is matoke, rice, sweet potato, and fish in nuts.
Man, I'm gonna buy. You make me buy ticket right now to come to Uganda, man. That's something else. That is something else. No, thank you so much, and we're excited about you. We're looking forward to seeing you as you go through the program and also after the program. And I'm gonna be watching you, man. You're gonna come again on the podcast once you get a million scans. Want to raise more money? Want to expand? Will always be a delight to have you back on the podcast to share your milestones. So, Dr. Prosper, I apologize. I didn't pronounce your first name right.
Ahimbisbwe. It's called Ahimbisbwe.
Ahimbisbwe. Ahimbisbwe.
Yes, Ahimbisbwe. Yes, Ahimbisbwe. It's
Ahimbisbwe. That's a very powerful name. That's like a president name. That's president right there. That's a solid name.
Thank you. It means let his name be praised. It's a local name in Bachiga, meaning let his name be praised.
That's powerful. That's powerful. That's powerful. And you are praising his name. You are praising his name. It's great.
Thank you. Thank you. I try my best. I try my best to do so. But thank you very much for your kind words. Thank you for this interview. I had a very great time, sharing with you.
Thank you. And thanks for giving us a sneak peek of the background of the nature of Uganda, for people to
those are the birds. I hope you can hear some of the birds. They're here.
I did hear the birds. I was like, man, you're living in nature right here, trying to create nature. We're trying to create it, but you're living in it.
I am, man. Okay.
Thank you so much, and have a wonderful rest of your weekend. I think weekend is about to start. And to all our listeners, Dr. Prosper, based in Uganda, Builders of Africa's future, this is our fit guest, and check out mSCAN, and those more. We'll have more episodes coming out just to share his work. So thank you so much, and we're looking forward to seeing the great work you do. Thank you again. Thank you.
Thank you, Jacob. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, everyone.